And that's also where I got started with bottles, like development
Yep.
with bottles. At first, I was just a helper, like I was just supporting users regarding Flatpak. But
Mhm.
after that, I slowly started to contribute to bottles, like in code.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and then um, like I knew nothing about GTK back then, or back then I mean like 4 months ago.
Mhm.
Um, I asked Mirko, the maintainer of bottles, like I was asking him like a million questions about how this shit work.
Mhm.
Um, and he answered like he was really nice, and that's how I started to understand GTK. That's how it's thanks to him. Like right now, I am making my own application as we speak.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, like if you or just the viewer, whoever wants to get started with programming, one thing I really recommend is that don't hesitate to ask questions to developers. Don't feel intimidated because if in open source, like collaboration is welcome in practically everywhere. If you want to ask help, well, a maintainer will start helping you with code contributions, and in return, you can help them back
Mhm.
it contributing to their software. That's basically what I'm doing with bottles, where the way I'm returning, like the way I'm showing my appreciation is that I'm now a developer. I am making a lot of UI changes. I am fixing bugs. I'm adding new features, and Miracle has less to worry about bottles now because I am now merging some pull requests, so he has to review less. It's and now he can work on other projects as well. But yeah, again, don't hesitate to ask questions. I think that's one thing that people often feel intimidated when they want to get started with programming.
Mhm.
They just don't want to feel like they're people will call them dumb. And I guess at some point as a developer, it is entirely inevitable to be called a moron or
Yeah.
dumbass. Like you will get insulted
Yeah.
because users, a small chunk of users, are always going to be entitled. So um, it's I wish I had learned this a lot sooner because I would have already like probably my application would have been already done like 3 4 years ago. Um, if had I started this approach
Mhm.
before, but yeah, I think at least for right now, like with the new approach, I think it's a really nice outcome. I'm actually really satisfied with it, and thanks to the knowledge I gained, I started contributing to other GNOME applications. Now, of course, I'm just talking about GNOME, but if you're more of a KDE person or I don't know, you prefer another project, you
Mhm.
can still you can still do the exact same thing as I did. Just you approach, just that you focus on another project.
Mhm. Mhm.
That makes sense.
What was it about bottles that like grabbed your attention?
Um, honestly, it's I was using it back then.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not
Actually,
exactly the most
for
legal reason why,
for anyone who doesn't
but
know what our bottles is, just give a brief explanation for what it is first.
all right. So Bottles is a GTK 4 plus libadwaita application that lets you run Windows software on Linux.
Mhm.
It has a lot of gaming related features as well. For example, game scope integration, VK Basalt integration, um, and it is meant in a way where you don't have to use Wine directly because, at least in my opinion, Wine like using Wine directly is a pain in the ass.
I've
And
seen some
Bottles,
Lucha scripts. It's definitely a pain in the ass.
yeah, I did as well. And honestly, even though I'm a developer of Bottles, I know nothing about the backend because Mirko did all the work.
Mhm.
I look at the backend, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I just focus on the front end stuff. Yeah. So with Bottles, I ran some Windows games,
Mhm.
Windows only games. Um, not exactly the most legal way, but that's another topic. Um, so yeah, and I liked it a lot.
Mhm.
Um, it helped me play my games that I always wanted to play as well. So, and I also noticed that there were a lot of typos. There were a lot of, there were some visual problems here and there, because after all, Bottles is a really big app, and the Mirko, again, the maintainer, he does not speak English. Like, it's not his first language. So, so yeah, I was just fixing typos, and then, right, I think, yeah, and then there's the CS50 part that happened.
Oh, okay. So you started working on Bottles first, just doing the non-programming stuff, and then you did the CS50 stuff, and then you started contributing to the code side.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, at first I was just contributing to Flatpak because I'm pretty knowledgeable with Flatpak, so I was just helping people with permissions, and maybe sometimes I was reporting bugs and he was fixing them, but I was never like doing the development side.
Right, that makes sense.